Phil, it's great to see you. Great to finally meet you.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Your first Pest World.
Indeed, yeah.
You came all the way from Sydney.
Well, we found out a couple of years ago it was going to be here in Hawaii, and a 9-hour flight for us from Sydney is kind of short. So yeah, we thought we'd jump on that one, and yeah, here we are.
So you're a Briton who lives in Australia. How did this happen?
Yeah, so I've been over there, say, 15 years now. Initially, I qualified as a podiatrist many years ago in 2008. Yeah. I have a habit of choosing very unglamorous professions, so I've gone from feet to rats and roaches.
Okay.
I graduated from university in 2008. Got offered a role in a sports hospital in Doha, funny enough. Okay. I was ready to go. Eventually, that job did actually fall through. I ended up a bit of a loose end. I was prepared to leave London. Where am I going to go? I knew Australia. I'd been travelling prior to uni. So yeah, I landed a job as a podiatrist in Australia and moved over there. And that went well. I had a brief stint working in the mines, in the mining industry.
You're not joking about picking unglamorous.
Yeah, I know. It's a funny segue. So I did some welding inspecting in the mines. That was good for the time being. Came back to Sydney, and my now business partner, who I'd known for a few years, we played in the same football team, or soccer, as you guys call it. He approached me and said, look, I'm busy. I've got a good thing here, but I can't take any leave. I'm all over the place. Would you consider joining me? Pest control.
Yeah.
Okay. You know.
It's not any stranger than any of the other choices.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. I just thought that everyone could be a customer. I thought seemed like there might be so much opportunity there. And yeah, I joined him, and that was me, him, and another guy at the point, and that was in 2017. And yeah, 2023, we're at 18 employees and enjoying it.
I appreciate you using the word soccer for our American audience.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could do the rest of the discussion with an American accent. Try that.
I'll give it a go.
Okay. Fantastic.
How's that?
So, what year did you get involved in PEST2KILL?
2017. So 6 years.
Okay, so it's relatively
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you decided to come out here, check out Pest World.
Yep.
And how you and I met was relatively recently. You sent an email in about the buzz, and I did, of course, mention on the air that it was probably the most well-written email I've received from a listener.
I mean, it took me 2 years to write it. I was drafting it, deleting it, so I hope I got it right. But yeah, I mean,
did you have help with it?
No, I didn't. Okay. It was all my own wording.
Okay.
But yeah, my wife will attest to this. That, I was thinking about getting in touch for a little while.
Yeah.
And look, everything that I said in that email was true. I do think the buzz, as a educational resource for me, has been phenomenal.
How did you stumble upon the buzz in Australia?
Yeah, so it was my wife again. I came home from work one time and she said, there's this podcast, a couple of American guys, and they seem quite slick, and started listening to it, and you're quite slick, I guess. Yeah.
How did your wife find a bug podcast?
Yeah, so my wife actually works in Pest2KILL. She is a phenomenal marketing professional. Mm-hmm. She was working in destination marketing, so some of her clients would be Brand USA, Visit California, very familiar with the American industry and the travel industry. And we've got 3 children now, but it was after our second child. She couldn't be in the office full time anymore. Came to join Pest2KILL, and we've really benefited from having someone of her caliber that I just don't think would be potentially interested in a role in the pest control industry. I probably wouldn't have been able to afford her.
Right.
And yeah, it's been transformative for our marketing. She's very creative, and she stumbled upon the buzz, as she does, and social media, and went from there.
So now that you've listened to it for a while, what are some of the big distinctions between the Australian market, the US market?
I think the main one that I have pulled out of it is the American market is very in tune with the subscription model in the residential market. We really struggle to get that recurring revenue in the residential market. Commercially, it's fine, but residentially, people are still very stuck on that annual service. And it is a challenge, and there's companies trying things, and it may change, but I think it seems to be a cultural thing, and very difficult to change that. We would love it if we could have monthly or quarterly services residentially, but it just doesn't play out that way at the moment.
Have you attempted it?
We tried a few things, but many companies are offering 6-month warranties, and that seems to just be really ingrained in people. And I think we will go down that route eventually, but look, I'm a commercial guy anyway, so I really like looking at the commercial stuff. I think it may move to that subscription type model, but at the moment it is a challenge.
How much of your business now is commercial versus residential?
We're about 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah. We would love to grow that, so I look after commercial sales, and we're definitely growing in that side of things.
I mean, you guys are based in a major metro area, so commercial makes a lot of sense. Is your focus more on growing the commercial side or the resi, or your?
We are definitely focused on the commercial side of things. I think that recurring revenue model just helps you build a better business. It can just be really challenging. The seasonality with residential. You know, do you keep your staff on? Do you let them go? It can be really challenging. So we find if we get that solid base of commercial, it really gives you a stronger business. So I've learned from you guys again, and the recurring and reoccurring revenue talks, and
it's one of the things that you and I were chatting about it yesterday. The Canadian market's very similar to Australia. And one of the issues is it's a lot of one-time revenue on the domestic side. So I do though see the Canadian market has changed. And a lot of the door-to-door companies that have come from the United States have moved into Canada, and that's the only way they do it. The monthly billing, quarterly service. So maybe at some point, as we discussed, it's going to take the pest control operators to say, this is how this works.
I think if we came together and did it, I always say, it's very difficult, to make the market meet you, you've got to meet the market. And I've just found that expectation around the annual service is something that can be really hard to tackle, but we're looking at it, and we're looking at, bringing in maybe tiered packaging with subscriptions, gold, silver, bronze, whatever, something based on that. And I think it's something that we'll probably implement within the next couple of years. But certainly at the moment, I would say our focus is on commercial and hospitality and that side of things.
What's the weather seasonality like in the Sydney market?
So it's a subtropical environment. There's a lot of greenery. There's a lot of pest activity. We do have mild winters, and so it kind of shuts down residentially there. So you see a huge decline residentially, and then it all ramps up about this time of year. October, November, we're spring, summer now, and that's when we really see things start to move on. It's managing that winter drop off, and I think if you don't have a strong commercial base, you will really struggle in Australia.
What's termite like I know in Western Australia there's a lot of termite pressure. What's it like in Eastern Australia? So Eastern Australia, Queensland's a real hotspot, so just north of us in the tropical environments, so Brisbane, Gold Coast and further north. We certainly have a lot of activity in Sydney, and I'd say termites represents probably 10 to 15% of our revenue. Again, a growing division we have there. It's certainly a very lucrative market as well, with the on-selling and treatments, system installs, barriers, etc. What sort of treatments are you doing in Australia for termite?
So termite barriers and termite monitoring systems. So Centricon.
Like a termimex type?
Termimex would be pre-construction stuff. So Centricon. So there's a lot of other brands. So very similar to that. And that's the one that we favour. A little bit greener. We do a lot of termite monitoring system installs. And that's again that does bring about that subscription, which is brings in that recurring revenue, which is great as well.
When we were chatting yesterday, you were talking about Mike and Debbie Rogers, their discussion on the buzz. Let's talk about that and what you picked up.
Again, and Met their son yesterday.
Yeah.
Meeting a lot of people here, a lot of faces.
He's floating around.
A lot of celebrities.
You met Jim McHale?
Yeah, met Jim McHale in the pool. That was a bit of a pinch me moment. So yeah, it's been great. I think Mike Rogers. What episode was that? First 10?
I don't remember. It's the one they were talking about. Maybe it was the first 10. Well, we did 2 with them.
Okay, maybe
early on.
Yeah. Well, in it, one thing that stuck with me was Mike spoke about his offices in Charlotte. And Charlotte's, I don't know, it's not, I guess, a huge city, but he had, I think, 8 or 9, maybe more.
I don't know. It's a decent size. Yeah.
It's a good size. And I remember him saying, you know, those are my billboards.
Yes.
Was that, was that okay?
Southern.
Yeah. Those are my billboards. And he had a very strong, that green, quite prominent branding.
Just pink and green.
Yes, yeah.
He's colorblind, by the way.
Oh, okay.
He is. So, yeah, that's where that came from.
Maybe that explains it. Yeah, I took that. And I thought, at the time, we only had 1 office in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. We've now got 3, so we're not up to the 8, 9, 10. But I find that's been a great way of us differentiating ourselves from the opposition. We now have presence in local areas. We'll then do a bit of the Chamber of Commerce, sponsor a local school, Google local search, and it really helps. And I did use that as my inspiration for that. So when he said it, I thought, well, if it's good enough for him, maybe I'll give that a go. So we'll look at opening a couple more because it has been really good. Yeah.
You know, that's a southeastern U.S. phenomenon. We see that all across the southeast. These guys will buy small buildings, and even if they just buy a building to rent it out to somebody else, they've turned it into a big billboard.
Yeah.
And you'll see companies that have 10 million in revenue in the southeast, and they'll literally have 15 or 20 buildings around. From a cultural perspective, the Southerners like to do business with local companies in the neighborhood that they can see them. They got a problem, they can show up.
Yeah.
In the Northeast, we don't see that at all.
Okay.
When you look up in New Jersey, New York, and those areas, a lot of the pest control firms will use super centers. Jim McHale's one example. He's got 1 office. On the day we sold that thing, he was doing 26 million USD in revenue out of 1 office.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a very different.
It's interesting.
mindset.
Yeah. We're just going with it for now. Seeing, I just think it's a different angle, and I think similar that you said in the southeast of the states. People in Sydney particularly do have that local association with the part of the city, which is great. We have more office space, so we can have people working out of there. They might be coming from somewhere else in the city. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think for now it seems like a good idea, and
What's the consumer demand for pest services like now here in 2023 in Australia?
I would say pretty high. It seems to be quite a thriving industry there. Certainly post-COVID. I mean, our company's grown. We're probably 60% year on year the last 5 years. So there's certainly, and a lot of that, there's been a big growth post-COVID. So I think the work is certainly there. And Sydney's a great city. It's relatively easy to get around. Mm-hmm. And you've got a good variety there. So there is the resi, there's the commercial termite. Certainly a lot of opportunity there. Yeah.
And Sydney didn't have the same restrictions during COVID as like Melbourne did, right, for example?
No, it took a little while. Then we got listed as an essential service. So we were able to carry on. We had a bit of a slump. I think it was March, April of 2020 when we were biting our nails and thinking, is this thing going to survive? But after that, things started slowly coming back on, and people realised, we need to get out there. Pest control needs to stay out there. We really kicked on after COVID. For us, I mean, maybe that coincided with the buzz starting. I don't know, but that was we really kicked on after COVID.
And you're not seeing any slowing demand now here in 2023?
Not at the moment, no. Possibly a little bit of more price sensitivity in the residential market. We have seen a little bit of a slowdown in hospitality, potentially. For us personally, it's going okay, and we're still finding that we're opening new accounts and bringing in business, so we're happy for now, yeah.
And, from a seasonal perspective, everyone here, for the most part, is getting ready to kind of close shop, so to speak, for the winter. Right?
Yeah.
This is the slow period. For you, you're just gearing up now.
We're just gearing up. So September, we were onboarding new staff. That's really our time to ramp back up again. So, when I get back, start working again next week, we'll really be going for the season then, and then it's hell for leather. So,
You know, I got to meet your partner, Julian. What
Yep.
what sort of aspirations do the two of you have for this business?
yeah. You know what? It's I guess it's changed along the way, because when he brought me on, I didn't ever really envision us getting to this size. I remember one time saying, you know what, it would be so good if we just had 5 techs, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then you get to that mark, and then, you know, the goal gets pushed on a little bit. I often say to people, look, we're in this nice position in Sydney where we're smaller than the big guys, but we're bigger than the small guys. And I think we can service the clients of each of those quite well. I often say we've got the capability and resources of the big guys, but we've got the responsiveness and attentiveness of those small guys. And we fit somewhere nice in the middle, and I think we're just going to keep growing at a steady rate, I hope, and we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, we're enjoying it for now, and yeah.
When your wife came on board,
Yeah.
this was within the last year or two?
Yeah, 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
So what are some of the things she straightened out for you guys?
Quite a few things.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Look, she, coming from that corporate background as well, she just tidied things up in the office. So there's that side of things. But marketing-wise, social media, knows how to manage people that look after websites, knows how to manage the SEO guy, knows how to look after the Google ads, and then comes up with creative marketing strategies that we find that kind of sets us apart a bit. So we do, you know, we run the bug show, for example. So this is where one of our termite technicians goes in. He's also a bit of an entomologist. He goes into local schools and daycares and does a bug show, all about looking after the good bugs in the environment.
Yeah.
I think we've seen about 2,000 children in that, so it's been really good, and it's a good way of making that connection with local educational facilities as well.
How often do you do the bug show?
We've been doing it about once every 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
often.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a great success.
What sort of bugs do you have on display?
He's got a few spiny leaf insects. He's got some burrowing cockroaches, things like that. So yeah, it's been a good hit. Very interesting. I think some people are sometimes confused. You know, you're a pest control company. Why? Doesn't quite make sense. But yeah, it's been a nice way of us connecting with those educational facilities and the community as well.
Yeah.
So that's been a great success, and you know, we've really not seen it done before in the industry as well.
You know, one thing I'm particularly curious about with regard to Australia is, you know, you've heard us talk quite a bit about the fact that it's been very difficult to find employees.
Yes.
How has it been for you guys there?
It's always a challenge, and I think it's something that's always spoken about. Whether I go to PestCon in Australia, whether I'm here, it's always staff. How do we get good staff? How do we retain good staff? We have often found that the best tactic is to recruit from outside the industry. You know the old adage, you can't train personality.
Yep.
So we really look to build that team that is going to have great culture, look after each other, and just be great to work with. You know, we always say if you're going to work at a pest control company, we want ours to be the best one to work at. And we've managed to attract, maybe this is, you know, some of our marketing efforts around that, we've managed to attract maybe some candidates who wouldn't consider this, and try and offer them, you know, some career progression, whether that's sales, whether that's office support, whether that's termites, whether that's a lead technician role. And really try and nurture them that way, to say, look, you know, you can be a tech forever if you want, that's great. I mean, we're always going to want techs.
Yeah.
But it's also to say, look, if you do the hard yards as a tech, in 1-2 years' time, you might be a salesman, or, you know, you might be in the office. And this is one of the things I still say in interviews when people come in. I say, look, I can't promise anything, but we're a growing company, and there are opportunities here that I maybe don't know about yet. And if you work well with us, we will look after you. And I think that's really helped us retain great people, which has then kicked on in order to bring more people in.
And how have you guys recruited? I would imagine you recruit online, but you also do you go out and approach people?
Some of it's been word of mouth, referrals from other employees, which is always handy. Yeah. We did a video this year, a recruitment video, which was kind of cool. It was on, we've got it on LinkedIn. It was a day in the life of one of our pesties.
Yeah.
You know, we dressed it up a little bit. You know, he was go-karting, going for beers at the end of the day with the rest of the team, but that was really helpful. We got a lot of hits on that and a lot of interest. So that's been one way we've done it. We go on the regular job ads and things like that, but it is tough. You know, it is tough, and there's not a huge amount of applicants coming in. And, you know, there's some unsuitable ones as well. Yeah. But yeah, for now, we've got a really good team. I've got some great supervisors that, you know, really keep that team culture going. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a challenge, especially when you're growing. But for now, we think we're going okay.
What are your biggest challenges now today?
I would say managing the growth of a seasonal business, I think, and it's not trying to overdo it in the summer and then leaving yourself exposed. Mm-hmm. We made a habit of bringing all our technicians on permanently, and we think that was a real change. Prior to that, I'd say prior to COVID, everyone came on, it was a casual contract. We'd ramp up in the summer, these guys leave, and then you're looking again. And we thought, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take people on permanently, and we're just going to cling on during the winter. And it's really, really worked. We use the winter as a bit of a training ground, improve everyone's skills, and then we come back out the other side. Have to add maybe a couple more positions, and then we go again. But I would say the challenge is managing that seasonality and the workforce and the income. Certainly, if we can manage that, then, you know, we can do quite well. And it's always nice to come out the other side of winter and realise you've survived, and then go again.
So, outside of training, what else are you doing to keep them busy in the off season? Well, that's basically it.
That's basically it. So we've converted a couple of guys into salesmen, which has helped. We start training people in the office, giving people more responsibilities in that quiet time. But yeah, it can be tricky. It really does drop off. You know, we lose so much of that residential work. We've been fortunate enough. We've won a couple of contracts this year with the Department of Education. So we're looking after some schools, and that really helped us this winter. There's about 200 schools in the western part of Sydney, and that's been really good for us. And again, as we talk about that recurring revenue, it's just we can really count on that. That's helped us this winter. But yeah, it's certainly a challenge, and you know, I think it will continue to be for a few years at least.
On the residential side, so most of these are a customer tracks you guys down and says I've got a pest problem. It's a one-time service, and that's usually what your busy season would be. What, 7-8 months of the year?
Yeah, I would say our peak season, October to end of April.
Okay.
Yeah, and then those requests really drop off. We stay in touch with our customers. We have a good reputation as a company. We don't lose many customers, and we'll try and get people in for those 6 monthly services if we can. But again, that's a huge challenge. You know, you're calling the list from last year. You know, someone might put it off for another couple of months.
Remember who you are.
Yeah. You know, well, we booked someone else. You know, we Googled. We didn't remember your name. Was it PEST2KILL? Was it Pest this, Pest that?
Right.
So it gets a bit like that. Yeah. Again, another challenge. Yeah, really difficult. But like I said, I think we will have to, especially as we grow. We're going to have to try and move to some sort of subscription. Otherwise, we will continue to find challenges around that.
What's a typical residential pest control service cost? What's the price for something?
Yeah, so with our business, so we're anywhere from probably $295 to $395, something like that. And, so probably a higher one-time cost in the US, but you may be only getting that one-time cost. So that's your typical pricing. Some people will do it a little bit lower than that, but that's what we tend to find.
And then you'll give a warranty on that for a period of time?
Yeah, so there's a 6-month warranty.
Yeah.
If we don't offer that, we can't.
Yeah.
It's difficult to compete. The guy down the road's doing 12-month warranty, you know, for example. So it's a tough one. I'm not a massive fan of warranties in pest control. It's going to be very difficult to encourage someone to do quarterly services if they've got a 6-month warranty.
Yeah.
So but that's just been something that is in the Australian pest control industry that is just expected.
Yep.
So we'll deal with it for now, and
How much runway is there for you guys on the commercial side there, do you think? I mean, Sydney's a pretty massive market.
There's a lot of opportunity there. Yeah, I mean, Sydney, good few million people there. Thriving city. There is a lot of opportunity there. So
why wouldn't you just focus then entirely on commercial?
I think it's been very difficult because we built, at the start, it was very residential based. So when I joined Julian, I was the one that started to go out cold calling.
Yeah.
Cafes, restaurants. I still remember the first sale I got, you know, the guy just says, well, how much? Pulled a number out of the air and he said, yeah. And we kind of went from there. So certainly our focus is to gain more of those commercial clients. We love the hospitality stuff. We do good work in that space. And we are trying to get the larger facilities and things like that. And there's a huge amount of opportunity. We just find it hard to turn down that residential work because it's there.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to 80% commercial and upwards, but it's difficult to turn down that residential work that kind of built our business at the start. So I think old habits die hard, maybe. And look, I don't mind the residential work, but like, you know, it does create just another. You're working for it the next year again. You know, you're working hard for it. And yeah, you know, they take a bit of managing residentially. So you put a lot more effort into that. But yes, certainly a lot of opportunities in the commercial space, and we are really over the next few years focusing on that.
Do your technicians do both commercial and residential, or do you have separate techs for that?
Generally, they will cover all bases. Yeah, and I know, you know, sometimes here in the US, people split them. We've just found it difficult from a scheduling perspective, mainly. And we have technicians that will favour for commercial work, but generally the guys will pick up all of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are a lot of companies that pull that off. I think it's probably helpful over time as you scale to maybe separate that out.
I'm not averse to it. Commercial, especially when you start to get into things like food manufacturing, it takes a specific type of technician. You need someone that's going to be able to tick the boxes, dot the I's and cross the T's, as you say. But so I think as we take on more of those customers, those clients, certainly in food manufacturing, where you need that documentation in place, you do need a specialist. And I'd know the ones that we're going to push into that area. So I think it probably would be something that we would do down the track, certainly. We tend to use the newer guys on our residential stuff. Tend to. But some guys, you know, we give them the option. We say, hey, what do you prefer? If you want to do all commercial, talk to us. We could probably make it work. Some guys love residential. I've never been a massive fan of it. But I'm a commercial guy, and but some people love doing it. So
Do you know how to kill bugs yourself?
Not bad. Yeah, I'm not bad. Yeah, when I first. It's been a while. Look, when I first started, I was out there. You know, we had one mobile phone that me and Jules were sharing, and he was still the boss then, really. You know, we're equal partners, but he was still running it, really. And I'd be out there, kind of learning the ropes, do a lot of rodent work. So that's my thing. I'm trying to hand those reins over to some of the supervisors. So I do a lot of rodent proofing and things like that. Not so much now, but sometimes I'll get called out.
What did your family think? I mean, you were a medical doctor.
I can't claim to be a doctor. So the podiatry qualification in the UK, slightly different. So we're more of an allied health profession. So like a physiotherapist. So yeah, we're not medic, we haven't been through med school. But yeah, still there was a few raised eyebrows even then. It was a bit of a strange move, but it's gone so well. And you often get looks from people when you say pest control. I mean, I'm sure you
do.
Yes. There's a couple of smirks from the guys when we said we're flying to Hawaii for Pest World, and you know, what are you doing in Pest World? And you're going to learn about rats, and pretty much. So I love that we fly under the radar. I love that people underestimate pest control. Because it's such a good industry. It's such a strong industry. There's so much opportunity, and everyone has that little laugh. But you know, we know what's going on.
No, to me, I'm always entertained when you know, you see these guys that are worth $100 million. Somebody said, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm just a bug guy, just the exterminator.
And I'm happy for people to think that. So it's a massively underrated industry, and I really enjoy being in it. So
what are you going to do differently? So you're ramping up for the season now. This year, are there any changes you're making in the business? Any, whether incremental or drastic?
Not so much. Like I said, this school's contract has changed things a little bit.
Okay.
So there's some management that comes along with that. So that's a big one. But look, we just want to grow at a comfortable rate, manage that workforce, keep the guys happy, and just come back into winter next year comfortably. So yeah, no major changes. I don't want to rock the boat too much, and usually we've got everything in place to get going for the season, and then there's time to start, knocking the balls out of the park then.
At your growth rate, I mean, are you experiencing production issues where you've got all these customers but you can't get the work done?
So too many customers?
Yeah, too many customers for the supply of your manpower, so to speak.
Look, usually because we grow and we can find it's the other way.
Okay.
So we're kind of always at that stage where we want to take more customers on because we've got another technician.
You're hiring,
on the
you're
road.
anticipating the growth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of plan it that way, and look, we're always on the lookout for more customers. We're always out there. We're always out there trying to sell. Myself and Julian, we go out on the road and we network, and we're always looking for those relationships and trying to find those clients. So it's a battle, and yeah, it's a good bit of work, but we enjoy doing it, and yeah.
I think about acquisitions in Australia.
Yeah.
And I've been involved in some over the years, and I always kind of scratched my head because outside of the commercial realm, when you see like a rentokil or an anticimex buying a residential business, because these businesses don't have recurring revenue, like for example, anticimex buys a pest control business in the middle of Australia that does $1 million per annum. 80% of that is one time.
Yep.
So now you suck it into anticimex's system, the name changes, and those customers don't even know who serviced them last year.
Yeah.
And so when you look at valuations in Australia, they're quite a bit lower than some other, save for commercial. On the residential side, they're quite a bit lower due to the lack of that recurring revenue.
Yep.
Because that's the fundamental problem, right? Like if you acquire a recurring account, well, that guy's already on the hook. He's paying. It's just a new service provider. He doesn't even pay attention.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because I was curious if you guys ever thought about acquisitions.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said we haven't thought about it. It's always mentioned. We know that the big guys are very active in Australia, and like you're saying, buying up some businesses that maybe the deal doesn't quite make sense. When you compare it to the US, it's something we think about. And I think if you build a business that you can sell, even if you're not going to sell it, it's still going to be a strong business, right? So. Look, we're happy for now. We've got no plans to move on.
But I'm talking about you from an acquisition perspective of going out and acquiring.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Possibly. Yeah.
And so why would you do that? I guess I'm just curious as to what sort of capabilities I guess would you be buying, and for what reasons would you guys go out and do that?
So it's something we've talked about, and I think one of the reasons is staff and experienced staff.
Okay.
So we've done well recruiting people into the industry, but you don't want to have a rookie workforce.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to find well-qualified termite technicians.
Okay.
They're usually subcontracting or running their own business. Yeah. So I think it's something we would consider in the next couple of years, and we have talked about it. And there's possibly a couple of companies in Sydney that I would look at. It's got to be the right one, something that would fit in with us operationally. Mm-hmm. So certainly something that we would consider, and I think as the years go on, trying to grow organically it can be stressful. It's tough work. Yeah. I think we'd definitely be looking around. Just maybe those businesses that are a little bit smaller, 2 to 4 employees, something like that would be of interest. As long as they run well, and
Great. I guess in closing here, I'm curious about what else you learned here at your first Pest World.
What else I want to hear?
What's that? What else you learned here at your first Pest?
Oh, okay. Well, I learned that the Mexican is even more aggressive and terrifying in person.
Yeah.
And I think you
were just talking. I was thinking about him when you said you can't change personality.
Yeah. Did he come to mind?
Yeah.
And Fat Pat, if he's around, he's a lot slimmer in person, so he's in great shape for Hawaii.
Did the Mexican tell you why we call him Fat Pat? It's a state of mind.
Yes. You can't lose that.
Oh, there's the Mexican there.
Oh, there he is.
Mexican.
That sums it up.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's been great. It's been a great week. Met some great people. Like I said, you bump into Jim McCall in the pool, and shout out to Matt Rogers and Seth. That I met last night in person. All these people that I've heard, you know, whilst I'm driving along in my car, and putting a face to the voice now. And it's been really good. I think we'll be at Pest World every year now. So
Right on.
yeah,
Great. Well, listen, Phil, it's been awesome to meet you. It's been fantastic. Today.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.